beautiful, beautiful transition. And this one didn't even bug or fail on us. Let's see. What's new in Postman? Joyce talked about that a bit last week. And it was about there was too much to talk about. So we're going to go a bit more in detail in that one. And then we'll probably just take a short break to get Kevin in the right spot so we can start the actual building of what we want to build today. But in case you missed it, that's what happened in the last release. For those of you who are using Postman to design APIs, so the API builder, and generate collections based on that, whether it's to test or document your API, we've added more ways to create new collections. So as of now, you could only link existing collections. Now you can actually generate mock and monitors based on a schema. You can also create a mock or monitor from an empty collection, which means instead of pre-populating your collection with the endpoints, start from 0 and you specify the endpoints yourself, parameters yourself, etc. And the last one is for documentation and test suites. Instead of only linking existing one, here again you can generate new ones from the tab. If there's any questions about that, it looks like I have the screen next to me and we're very still. Again, we're sorry. We'll fix this.
Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff for the API builder. And that whole section is kind of new. So it's cool to see that they're starting to build that out. A lot of people probably are confused at like what it's for, but it's a way that you can design. I think you said it earlier, Arlemy, a way you can design your API and think about it before you build it, and then hold the development and testing accountable to that design.
Indeed.
This risky.
I just realized I have to speak everything because I can't just like nod and hope people will see. All right.
Hey, what's the etiquette? There's like a link in this chat and risky click of the day. Are we gonna get rickrolled?
Let me see. I need to open the right one. In case you missed it. That's a risky one.
Risky. We'll need more context.
Oh,
yes,
it's a. Oh no, that's fine. It's a Telegram. Join a Postman. Oh, there's a Postman community on Telegram. Did you know?
Is that like Russian TikTok?
Telegram is a messaging app, just like WhatsApp, but not owned by Facebook, basically. But it is. It looks. The description is in Cyrillic. I wouldn't take a guess on which language exactly because I don't want to offend anyone. So I'm just going to say.
In case you missed it.
So back to Telegram is WhatsApp but better and with respect for its users. Yep, that would be how I would describe it as well. Second one, authenticate using your browser to generate OAuth2 token. If you've been following us for more than a few weeks, we've announced like a week before last that we would support, how do you say that? Pixie in OAuth 2.0, which is, go here and read about it.
Kevin knows about Pixie. He taught me about Pixie.
But is Kevin around? That is the question.
Yeah, he's
here.
Hopefully I'm around. I'm trying to be around as hard as I can. Okay.
Do you want to talk about what Pixie is? Just quickly, into 2 quick words.
Oh, yeah, because OAuth can be summed up in 2 quick words all together. Pixie is a more secure replacement for using the implicit grant type in OAuth 2, which web apps used to use.
That's perfect.
It's the newfangled OAuth.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, after we announced that, we've also announced that we support using your browser and not the in-app browser, so like the pop-up that you would have in-app to use the OAuth 2.0 flow. Because the reason behind that is just that Chrome would block users from using an in-app browser because it wouldn't show the URLs. For security reasons, they blocked third-party apps to do that. So now you can actually just use your browser, go through the whole authentication flow, and do your gain your token. Our website is broken. You should try to click on the social media icons at the bottom left of your site. Okay, we will check that. And I don't know if we have anyone from the website team on the chat, but they may want to check that now if our users are saying it's broken. Next, real-time status for the GitHub sync. This one, as I've written here, is very easy. If you've enabled GitHub sync, which allows you to have your schema synced between Postman and a GitHub repo, it's just going to tell you straight away, we are syncing, it is synced, there's been an issue during sync, instead of having a delay or only showing certain status. Security layer for the interceptor extension. I don't know if you remember Joyce or people in the chat, but a couple of weeks ago we used interceptor to try and hack into websites or see if we could break some forms using Postman. And interceptor, basically what it does, it scans for any network request that happens on your PC and imports that into Postman in the form of request, and then you can just recreate it or do the same course on Postman. It's encoded by default, encrypted by default, but now you can add a specific key, whichever key you want, for an added layer of security. And any question?
It has nothing to do with American football. Interceptor intercepts those requests.
It's going to be a very bro moment, but I miss the NFL. But that's...
What?
Yeah. I do NFL fantasy, and yeah, I just can't wait for the new season.
I didn't even know they had NFL in Europe.
They don't. I just play the US one.
The fantasy league? Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, closing the brackets on NFL. We could do a whole stream on NFL at one point. Next one on the list, moving an API or a collection to another workspace. So as of now, if you wanted to share stuff with your team, but remove it from your workspace, you had to take two actions, sharing, then removing from your workspace. Now you can just click on share, and you have a little radio button choice that you can just say, I want to move it. So just move it for me, and I don't have to actually do the next action afterwards. So pretty cool.
That's helpful. A lot of people used to share it and then remove it or delete it, and removing and delete, people would get confused about that. So that's actually really helpful for the user.
The next one is just a first view of what's coming, basically. So we've made improvements to the code and descriptions editor. We've switched some places in the app from the Ace editor to Monaco editor, which makes for better syntax highlighting, for example, or which allows us to get the variable suggestions as you write them. But there's much more coming, not in the next release. We are aiming to release that in 7.26, so in about a month from now. And there's some cool stuff coming, just
that one's the coolest, I think. And how do you pronounce that? Is it Monaco?
Yeah.
Editor?
Yep.
Monaco? Okay.
Which is the one used in VS Code as well, and in many other places.
Just the way it highlights and the way it auto-completes is going to be very helpful. And it just looks prettier.
Yeah. More import options, because you can import a lot of stuff with Postman, but we've had user feedback about you'd like to personalize what you import and the way it's imported. And you can do that now. So you can choose which value in your schema should be used for example, or for the response parameter or request parameters. There's always debate between should you use tabs or space. Well, now you can actually, while you import, you can say, I want to use tabs in my request body, or I want to use space. And you can decide what's going to be used for the name of the request. So in the left sidebar, by default, I think we use the description, but you can choose between URL or operation ID. Spaces or tabs is I'm not going to say century-long question, probably decade-long question. I don't know. And that's a wrap. So now, if you may allow us, we're going to take a 2-minute break, try to get Kevin where he belongs, so on the screen right there. and we'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, I think we're back, and I think we have the right setup. Anyone on the chat? Confirm, infirm, do something, let us know. I'll open that on the side. Okay, cool. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going well. My computer's not dying anymore, so let's hope it stays that way.
So the trick is, if your computer overheats, you need to unplug it. Is that the learning today?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like when your car overheats, you need to like pull it off to the side of the road and wait for it to cool down a little bit before opening that weird cap to put more like water in the radiator. It's kind of like that. Like you got to just shut it down, let it cool down for a while, make sure that it has no power going to it, and then it gets good again.
Okay, so now we just need to hope that your battery can last the whole stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for reporting my voice in double. I think I've fixed that now, but you can confirm again. So let's go into first. Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kevin.
What do you do?
I'm a solutions engineer at Postman. I've been in the web API space since like 2011. So yeah, really excited about lots of cool tricks going on in the web API space right now, and happy to show some.
Cool. Let's see what we can do. The plan today, and for anyone that needs to refer to what we're going to do today, jump back to this place of the video. We're going to try to build an integration between Twitch, Kevin's computer, which is why we really needed Kevin to be on, and Discourse. And the idea is we're going to have a webhook between Twitch that publishes to Kevin's computer whenever we go live. And when we go live, Kevin's going to trigger a collection using Newman, which is the CLI collection runner for Postman. And that collection is a simple call that sends a post or puts a banner on our community forum that says, we just went live, join us. So if we manage to do this, every time we go live at that time every week, more people are going to join because they'll be on the community forum and they'll be like, oh, they're on Twitch. So you get people. Okay, we've lost Kevin's webcam. Hopefully that's not a bad sign. Okay, he's back. Cool.
I'm here.
Got me scared a second. Okay, cool. Did I describe it correctly?
Yes.
Cool.
Right. So Arlene, if I understand, you're going to build the discourse part in Postman,
Yeah.
right? And then we're going to have a webhook that gets information from Twitch, executes, looks at the information and says, oh, we have a stream going live, and then uses Newman, which is our CLI for running collections, to actually run the collection that you're building in Postman.
Yep, exactly. Okay, yeah,
Great.
that was much more explained on the webhook part, as you can tell. Kevin is in charge of the webhook, and that's not me, so that's why I was I made it very simple. So let's. I'll go ahead and I'll switch to my screen. Oop, and I will share my screen on Skype just so Kevin can follow in real time what I'm doing. Cool. So now we should be good. So let's start off. So I'm going to build the discourse collection that then Kevin can get and run with Newman. So let's have a look at the Discourse API. They have documentation, and we love documentation on that stream. That's where we spend most of our time. So your webhook, or the information you can get from it, is whenever we go live, or can we also get when we are not live anymore?
We get both.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can definitely alert on both.
Okay, so let's do this global notice. So I've used that before because we had an issue with our community forum where no one could log in, so I had to use the global notice, and it says display an urgent emergency global banner notice. But I think being live on Twitch is urgent. People should know about that, so that's what we're going to use. And what it says it says it's a put request. The payload is just, oh, that's an easy payload, just global notice and a string. And I guess there's some sort of authentication. We can't just send that. But we can look at that after. So just give me 1 sec. I'll just put the chat somewhere. So if there's stuff, I can actually read what you're saying. Apparently you're being modest, Kevin. You're famous in API circles, Charlie's saying. And this is why desktop exists compared to laptop. Yeah, and this is why we actually, so funny enough, right before we started the stream with Kevin, we were talking about how our laptops could not support doing this. And then right after, his computer crashed. So maybe we shouldn't have used that. I'm actually using a desktop because I have to stream, etc. Okay, so Postman. We have a workspace that we use for all stream, which is called Twitch. I've invited Kevin to that earlier on, so you should be able to access it. And I'm going to create a new collection, and we call that one. Would this one be Twitchception? I guess it could be.
Oh, Arlemy, actually, I don't have that invite.
You don't have the invite. It's fine. I can invite you again, or I'll just export on my side and I can share it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah, we'll see whatever is easier. Okay, so creating a new collection called Twitchception. Oh, we actually, I thought we had one already. That's fine. I'll start it so it's always at the top, and I'll add a request, which is going to be global notice. Okay, so this needs to be a put according to documentation, and it is to the admin site setting global notice. So obviously the beginning is going to be our URL, so I'm going to use variables and I'm going to say community URL, and we'll go ahead and create an environment. Do you think, or do you know if Newman can work with collection variables, or does it need to be in an external environment file?
So Newman can work with collection variables. Environments need to sort of get passed in,
Okay.
or if you're using like global variables, those need to get passed in as well. But I believe collection variables should just work straight from the collection.
So let's do collection variable, because I don't think we've done that in other streams, and it's probably easier because then I just have one thing to share with you. So let's go ahead and I'll create a new community URL, and that's going to be community.postman.com, and probably cool. Let's double check that I'm right. Okay, that's us. Good. So this is fine. I'll update. So it says I need a body, which is just JSON and global notice. So I'll put that in here. Raw, JSON. And let's say we just want to let them know we're live on Twitch. Join us on twitch.tv/getpostman. That should do. So there was no information about authentication, but I'm really hoping that sending this is gonna fail. Okay, there's some sort of error here. And if we preview this, it says that page doesn't exist or is private. Okay. It's not the error I was expecting, but at least it doesn't let us do it. So let's go back to the documentation. And if we go, I'm guessing all the way to the top. Oof. That's too long of a documentation. I'll just go straight like this. Okay. Cool. Some endpoints do not require authentication, but most of them will. And to become authenticated, you will need to create an API key from the admin panel. And once you have it, pass it along as an HTTP header. Okay, so it says I need an API key and an API username, and I need to pass it as a header. So let's go to my admin, but obviously I will turn on Secret Shield. this is not the right size at all, but this will do. Hopefully you won't be able to see. Okay, so just going. So Kevin, you can see my API key on the screen share, but hopefully you won't spread it around.
Oh yeah, I'll take a screenshot of that and share it out on Twitter. So you're building this collection from scratch. You're building these requests from scratch. Have you checked? Do we have any templates for Discourse through Postman or?
Actually,
okay,
I have not
yeah.
checked. That's a good point. I'll create my API key. So I have it. Stream API user level only me. Okay, save, and I will save that somewhere on the side where you can't see it. Cool. Secret shield off. Okay, so let's do the first thing you talked about, which is check in if it's not existing already. So I'm gonna go here to the templates and just type in discourse. Okay, so there's one that exists that flag discourse topic that need attention love. So if we look at it, it's actually from us, and you give it a forum and it tells you which topic don't have answers apparently, but that's not what we need. So
Right.
Okay, so back here, now I have my API key. So it would be a header, and it was API key, and I'm gonna have my API. If I could type, that would help. Key here, and the other one was API username. Cool. So put API username here, and I'm gonna have API username. So again, for now, they don't resolve because I've not added them to the collection variables. So I'm gonna go ahead, edit the collection, and add these here. So we'll have API key and API username. I'm gonna copy paste my API key. But first, let's do this. Yep. All right, so API key right here, and API username is my username. I'm gonna persist the values so you can get them when I export the collection. All right. Okay. I have my call. It's a put. I have my API key here and my API username that now resolve to what it should resolve to, and I have my global notice. So if I send this, it's 200 okay, and that's what I'm getting. But I guess if I go and check the community forum now, we do not have a notice. We do have a notice. We're live on Twitch. Cool. So this collection works.
There you go.
Easy.
Done. All
done. Okay, bye. Yeah. Easy. I wish they would actually. I'm actually not. I wish that given like, I guess 200 okay is fine. I don't need more than this. All right. So I'll export this and share it with you. So
wait, so is there like a timed thing on this? Like, will it expire at some point?
So it says, I think in the documentation, that if I want to get rid of it, I just need to send it again, but with an empty payload.
Oh, got it. Great.
Okay. Yeah. Where is it? Payload. It actually doesn't say it. Oh yeah, right here. Change to blank to hide it. So actually, question for you. Would you be setting the content? Because I guess you would set a different content based on whether we go live or we are not live anymore. So maybe I should set that as a variable, right?
You could set it as a variable. We'll have to figure out how to override that variable if it's a collection variable through Newman. But yeah, the other option is that you can just have another request that sends it blank.
Yep,
and
that's
you would have to put it actually in a different folder because Newman only runs folder at a time
okay.
at the lowest granularity.
So let's do that. I'll create a folder which is live, and I'll create another one which is, you've guessed it, not live.
Not live.
Cool. And now I can move this one to live because that's the one we want. And then I'll duplicate it, move here. Global notice, I'll rename that as well, just to say live and not live. And this one will have an empty global notice. And now, so if I send this, that should remove it from the community forum. 200, very nice. Back to the community forum. And it's gone, cool.
Ta-da!
Ta-da, easy. All right, let's do this. Export as collection. I'll save it on my desktop. Tweetception Postman collection. All right, should I send that to you on Slack?
Sure.
Okay, I'll just switch back to the discussion slide, so I'm not sharing anything. Okay, going to Slack, and desktop. It was called Twitchception. Okay, you have it on Slack.
All right, let me pull that in.
Yeah, I will stop sharing my screen, and then you can start sharing your screen. And let me check. I think I've missed quite a few things on the. So because we've been in a hurry to set up that, I didn't set up all my windows the right way, so I don't actually have the chat where it belongs. I'm so sorry. So sorry, viewers. I disappointed you. No, it's fine. We're just getting praises because we've made it so fast. And Secret Shield, obviously. All right.
Hold on, I'm trying to get this file. Here we go.
And there was a question from, I'm guessing, Joyce, which is, can you do a live stream from your bed? But this was like 20 minutes ago, and I've lost the context on this. So I don't want to answer anything, just in case it was not at all what was asked. Okay, let's set up your screen.
All right.
Okay, it's already there. Is that your screen? You're on Postman, right?
I haven't started sharing it,
Oh,
so there we go.
That is not your screen. Good to know. We'll do it again.
Okay, I'm sharing now.
Okay, all good. Should be fine. If viewers can confirm that we're on the right one, that would be amazing. That you can see Kevin's screen. Yes, Kevin's screen is on. Perfect.
Fantastic.
All right. So do you want to
Great.
just walk quickly through what you're going to do now?
Yeah. So I already have some of this stuff set up, which is going to be good because the part that I haven't done ever is use Newman like a library in JavaScript. So we can spend a little bit more time on that. So we need to take a look at how Twitch does webhooks. I know there's a webhook that when a stream goes live or a stream state changes, it'll notify whatever webhook that we register. And so we need to receive that and then do something with that information. I'm going to walk through some local webhook development stuff because it can be really tricky, especially because you need to have some kind of entry point that is publicly accessible, especially for Twitch here, being sort of an external use case as opposed to an internal webhook use case. And then we'll take a look at the data coming through and how to inspect this and debug our code using Postman.
Yeah, I feel like local webhook is like adding difficulty on difficulty, but if you're up for the challenge,
Yeah, well, I
I'll
mean,
tag along.
it's a it's a real world thing, right? Like I'm developing a webhook. How do I go through this development experience and not have to deploy to production over and over and over again in my dev cycle?
Yep.
So
Cool.
I was hoping that this would be a much simpler example, but as it turns out, Twitch actually uses something called web sub, which is I think derived from what pub sub hubbub did, and it's a whole specification around how to do webhooks. So there's actually like a few different pieces of this. If we look at the docs here for Twitch, it talks about a subscription verification. It talks about this challenge thing that's coming across, so we'll take a look at that. And then actually confirming or verifying the subscription, and then starting to receive content. So there's, let me see if I can find a diagram of this, because there's actually quite a few moving pieces.
Yep. So it's like an added layer of security, I guess.
Yeah. So the subscriber is us. The publisher in this case is going to be Twitch, and the hub is their API endpoint for webhooks. So the first step here is that we have to discover that they actually have a topic that we need to subscribe to, which we can do through their docs. Mm-hmm. And then we need to actually tell that API hub, hey, here's our webhook endpoint. We'd like to subscribe to this particular topic. If we look right here, there's a verification step that I talked about. And then eventually, you go live, Twitch notifies their API hub. That API hub then pushes a notification back down to us. But where this differs from some other webhook implementations is that there's actually two different calls that are going to be coming in to our webhook, and one of them is just for the subscription verification, and the other is the notification. So we need to, is a content notification. So we need to actually figure out how to handle those two different calls. So the first problem is, how do we have a local dev environment that gets executed when Twitch calls our webhook? So we can actually go through and debug and figure out what's going on. Luckily, there is a tool out there that is open source. So there's a company around it, of course, called ngrok.
That's another one of these that you never know how you're supposed to pronounce it. Got ngrok, and yeah.
I think it's ngrok. But if I'm wrong, hopefully they'll correct me one day. So if you look here, like, what's it good for? Building webhook consumers on your dev machine is exactly what it's good for. So we'll take a look at that. And here's how it works. Let's see if they have a good diagram. Maybe we can just use this. So, oh yeah, here we go. So you have a local dev machine here, right here, that connects to ngrok, establishes a tunnel with ngrok to your local machine. ngrok exposes a public API endpoint, and then users can hit that public API endpoint that then goes through your firewall and executes code on your local machine. So it's potentially a security person's worst nightmare, but is actually really helpful for developing this sort of thing. So the other thing that we'll look at is the proxy feature in Postman. So there's going to be proxies all over the place, and I apologize, I don't really have a diagram showing the flow, but we'll see what that creates. So I actually have a server set up that I think I'm just going to run for now, and then we can walk through it later.
Yeah, the next investment we talked about is getting a whiteboard for our streams, so then we can just like be full classroom mode and draw the things. It would really help.
Yeah, so I have like my local Twitch webhook server running, and then I'm actually going to start this proxy. This proxy is going to listen on port 5555. So basically, if you route traffic through this proxy, it's going to show up in Postman somewhere. And you can select where. So either to the Postman history or to a collection. So we'll dump it into this collection for now. And let me see. Because there's not enough proxies in the world, we actually have another one here. So
all the proxies.
So all the proxies. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start up ngrok. We're going to point ngrok to this proxy that's going to be running on my local machine, just 30 lines of code. I'm sure there's probably a tool out there that does this too. What this proxy is going to do is actually route that request coming from the public through ngrok to Postman running on our local machine. Postman's going to capture that request and then forward it on to our end server. So there are three proxies in place here, which is not only is it a little bit complex, but it also really speaks to one of the main features of HTTP and being a layered system. Because it's a layered system like this, we can do some crazy stuff like inspect traffic going across our network. So yeah, I might clean this up and put it out there so it's a little bit more easily consumable, but it's just a few lines of code essentially that is listening on a port, and then it's doing the proxy functionality. So it's connecting to localhost 5555, which is our Postman proxy, and then it's forwarding that HTTP request along through that. So we have our proxy running for Postman. I will run this. And I've spent a lot of time in Node.js and in the Node world. So this is what I'm doing here with node debug equals HTTP is kind of like a poor man's logging. It'll, every time something happens in the HTTP module inside of Postman, inside of Node, it'll log out what's happening. So if we get a request, it'll log something out. If we forward a request, it'll log something out. Our server is running on port 3000. This is our actual webhook server.
Yep.
And so we're gonna proxy to that. Okay, great. So now we have 2 proxies in place, and it's time for our third proxy. So this one's running on port 3100. I promise it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, I should have called that proxyception and not Twitchception.
Yeah, proxyception. So we're going to start up ngrok, which is fairly easy. If you're on Mac, I think you can just brew install ngrok, or if you go to ngrok.com, you can find different ways to install it. I think the whole thing is actually open source, so I think like the server side of this is open source too. Of course, I'm just running the client end here. So ngrok's going to point to 3100, which is our proxy that goes to Postman. Postman is going to forward it to our web server here. So it would probably be helpful to come up with some show notes or something after this to go through that. So we have ngrok running. There's actually an inspector that you can go to here. There's no request coming in yet. And here is our public endpoint. So if we go here, so a few things just happened pretty quickly. We went to this public ngrok endpoint at /hi. It routed traffic to this proxy that we have running locally, and here's that node debug stuff coming out. This routed it to Postman, which then put the request here. And then Postman forwarded it all the way back to our webhook server. And so why this is kind of cool is that if we don't know what these calls are going to look like coming from this webhook that Twitch is sending, this gives us a way to capture those requests coming in and also replay them, right? And do that without having to hit the public Twitch server. So let me delete this. I have a little admin folder here. So one of the things you need with Twitch, if you go through their auth setup, you set up a client ID, a client secret. You use OAuth 2 credentials to get a token, and then you can start making API calls with that. So what I have here kind of pre-canned is just that. And so to do anything, like each Twitch user has a user ID. So this API call here gets that ID from a username. In this case, we're going to use my username because if we're going to actually test it and start it up, we can't use get Postman. So
there's a question for you in the chat, which is, are you verifying that you actually made the subscriptions request yourself?
Are we verifying that we made it? So we will get a verification in when we actually do the event subscription. We haven't done the event subscription with Twitch yet, but when we do it, Twitch is going to send us that verification, and then we confirm it. And I can show you how Twitch wants you to confirm it as well. They send you a challenge, and they want you to sort of output that challenge text to be like, yeah, this is me. This is a valid call. And then there's even like another layer of verification when the actual content comes in that we can talk about too. So the ID that we're going to work with here is this, and in my test, I have it set up to set that in the environment automatically, so we can just verify that our user ID is there. Great.
So the question was actually, I think, the other way around, which is, yeah, are we checking, I guess, on Twitch that the request is coming from us?
So Twitch maintains like a list of their subscriptions that you can see here. These are old ones that I was using to test. So they'll know like, the webhook URL is this. And there's actually when you go to this subscription, we can actually walk through this now. There's so the callback is that webhook URL, which we're going to set right now as being ngrok. Oops, that's not it. Let me come back here, and ngrok should have our URL. There it is. So we'll put that in here and do /webhook. So this is a subscription call, a webhook subscription call that goes to Twitch. And you use form URL encoded body for it. And this is all part of that web sub, is that right? Web sub spec that we were looking at before. So callback URL is your actual webhook URL. You can subscribe or unsubscribe here. And then you pick a topic. And if you look through Twitch, they have a number of different things you can subscribe to. Where is it? Webhook reference. So user follow, stream changed, user changed. We're going to be looking specifically at stream changed. And if you look here, they give you this topic URL to subscribe to. And this is why we needed that user ID. Right? So this is going to be our topic URL. Example notification payload for a stream offline event is this. And an example notification for other stream change events, which is only live, I think, looks like this, right? So
I guess it could be something like hosting, or because you can host other channels, so I guess the type may be different. But wild guess, like I've not played with that API.
Yeah, so I mean that's one reason that you might want to do sort of this weird proxy chaining that we're doing now. So here's what the docs say. What am I actually getting live? And what can I do to sort of push that into my own testing to make sure that my webhook is acting correctly. Right?
So the type can be live or rerun, Danny's saying. And Danny rephrased this question, I think, again, because we still didn't get it, which may be just me not putting the right tone to it. The question is, are you verifying that the subscription that's being set up with your webhook endpoint is a subscription that you requested to be created? Does that make sense?
Got it. So yeah, let's run through this, and we'll we'll see what happens. So this is the subscription call, right? And then we'll get the subscription verification back, and we can look at what that looks like. So we'll have the webhook URL subscribe that topic that we talked about. And every subscription, webhook subscription, has a lease associated with it. The max that you can do with Twitch is 10 days. So that's here. And there's also a secret that you can generate and send with your subscription, which is used to actually verify the content coming back when you get a webhook. So that's part of the answer to the question there that we can get into. So we should have all this right. This is going to ngrok. It's going to our end server. We should send this. So this is sending it off to Twitch. Twitch is calling this ngrok URL back to do the verification. And you can see that popped up here. So here's what that looks like. Here's what they send us, right? We actually got denied for some reason. Oh no, exceeded the maximum number of allowed subscriptions for the topic. Well, we can pick another user, I suppose. We can just do get Postman, and we can run through some of the tests. I actually have, what that looks like somewhere, and I can pull that in. So
does it need to be a change of status, or is it still gonna work because we are live? Like, you're just gonna check that the content is live, right? You're not gonna check a change of status.
So the webhook will.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. It's
the change of status, right?
Yep.
Yes, and so unfortunately, I looked into this earlier. You can't delete webhook subscriptions. So I have like 10 days to wait before I can do this, or I can probably contact Twitch support. That's okay, little snag in the live thing, but this does show that doing this weird proxy chaining is pretty important, right? Like we actually now know what the shape of this kind of request looks like, and we can go through our code and fix that, right? I'm gonna pull in another collection that I have.
Apparently you can unsubscribe. You just have to change subscribe to unsubscribe.
You do. The problem with using ngrok like this, though, is that once you stop that server, you don't get that endpoint back.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
If I've apparently I subscribed too many times and forgot to unsubscribe before shutting down that ngrok server, so that is one kind of gotcha here.
Okay.
But so I've already done this, and I have a list of what these requests look like already. So let me pull that in. Oh, let me import. Okay. So the webhook subscription verification. 200. Okay, and so we got that in here. Great. So let me run through that code real quick just to see what we actually do when we get it. So it's going to be a GET request coming in for the subscription verification.
Yep.
We look at a couple of different things there. The mode, which I think is subscribed or unsubscribed, and the challenge. And we just echo back that challenge. That, again, this is part of the web sub spec.
Yeah.
And this says, hey, like, we're a valid URL endpoint. We are expecting, to get a webhook verification, and echoing out that challenge sort of verifies that.
So just quickly, for those of you who were here last week when we did Webhook, that's one of the reasons why we couldn't do actually Webhook directly with Postman, because Postman isn't able to reply to the challenge, and hence why we go through that like third part in the middleman to reply to the challenge. Exactly.
And so doing this sort of capture mode here, I was able to grab what a live stream start and a live stream end looks like, and so we can actually go through that. again, the cool thing about this is that like we're able to capture it in Postman, and then we can make some adjustments, we can add some tests, and we can hit our endpoint directly instead of having to go through like all of these crazy proxies, and instead of having to rely on Twitch to be sending those messages, right? Especially with webhooks, like there's often a delay. I know with Twitch, the go live or the stream change events can be 3 minutes between the actual event happening and getting that webhook. And so if you're testing in a development environment, that can kind of kill your momentum. I'm going to change this to be my local host. Great. And let's send that along. Okay, so this is essentially our request in Postman acting like the Twitch webhook server, sending this to our webhook server, right? So the Twitch hub saying, here's an event happening, send it to that webhook.
So just quickly, because Danny on the chat is saying that because we're not actually checking who's subscribing, it could be taken down by someone with bad intentions. Just to be clear, we're not doing a production ready thing here. We're just playing, like, we wouldn't host that on someone's laptop anyway. So that's a very like quick and dirty, how can we have a link from Twitch to Discourse? But if we want to actually use that every week, we'll obviously move it to online, and we'll add verifications on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so let me just touch on that again. The subscription verification call is for the hub to verify that this webhook URL actually made that subscription, right? So even if this were a malicious intended actor sending this, all that's really going to happen is that we're echoing out whatever challenge that they send us, right? And I'm sure there are attack vectors there that are possible as well. But it's not going to fire off any automation from us, right? It's really just echoing back something that we got. And we can do things like, verify that this is actually coming from Twitch. But as Arlemy said, for our purposes, that's not going to be necessary right now. So what is actually more important is making sure that our webhook event payload is valid and is coming from Twitch, right? And so if you recall, in our webhook subscription, we have this secret. And so this is where the secret comes into play, where we're getting this payload coming in from Twitch. If we look at the web sub spec, here's our secret, which is not too big of a deal. We can change that later. It's really only for running on my local machine right now, so I'm not too concerned. So handle event notification is coming from our server handler here. When we get a post in, it goes to handle event notification. What is going to get sent over with this, if we look at our headers, is this X hub signature. And this hub signature is actually an HMAC of SHA-256 that takes the body coming in and encodes that. So it does a hash and then sort of encodes that in hex using that secret that we set up in the initial request, right?
Yeah, I'll just quickly jump in here just to let people that are not aware that there are some like libraries that are available on the Postman sandbox, like Crypto.js, that you can use out of the box. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Which lets us simulate this coming from Postman, right? So it's actually super handy. We set that hub signature to the SHA-256 equals that encoded value, which is essentially what Twitch is doing as well. So that's coming from Twitch. It's our responsibility to look at that payload coming in and look at that signature and go through and actually verify that against the secret we used when we set up the subscription in the first place. So every event that comes in to our server, we're actually doing that. So we've got that secret, we're coming up with that hex value, and then we're comparing it to the signature that we're getting back in that header. And if that doesn't match, we're not processing anything there. We're saying, hey, this is a 400 bad request. We'll end it. And so let's see here. Well, let's see. Let's make sure we're hitting the right thing here. Getting a 200, okay. And nothing's getting logged out. Maybe I messed something up here. Let's see.
There's always this moment in the stream when we go into debug mode.
Yeah, it happens. So we're getting a 200 back. That's good. If we look at the Postman console, we can see that it's actually posting there. It's got this. The request body is going in, and the response is coming back. Oh, I didn't save this. That's the problem. Okay, let me. And we'll try again. There we go. So 204 no content is what I'm actually sending back. If we look at what's getting logged out here, we log out all of the headers. We see the X-Hub signature, and we just looked at the code, so we know that's being verified, and here's the payload coming in. So what we can do from here is actually do something with this, right? Like right now, we're just sort of receiving that payload. But what our end goal was to actually send that off to Discourse. And so here comes a part that I've never done before. So
it's the fun bit.
Any other questions? I know we went through a lot for that, but are there any other questions in the chat that you see, Arlemy, for this webhook setup?
I see approval because we're using a signature, so
okay,
good on us. No actual question. Yeah, if there, you can still ask the questions and we can reply as they go. So now we go into the using Newman to triggering the connection that I had created before when we go live and when we are not live. And like Kevin said, we're both working at Postman, but strangely, we've not had to use Newman a lot. So hopefully we have another Danny, which is our Danny Newman expert in Postman in the chat, and he can help us if we need. But even better, we can do it ourselves, and we don't even need help because it's so easy to do. So
it's so easy.
There's hope.
Oh, no wonder it's number one. Okay, so we'll npm install Newman. I'm assuming is probably the first step here, and then I'm going to go look at the docs. Postman Labs.
Often the second step.
Yeah. Using Newman as a library. Okay. I mean, this looks straightforward.
Yep.
So let me put that down. There we go. All right, so we'll do const Newman equals require Newman. And we'll scroll down to where we are. Okay, so this is the stream is live. We know that, and this is stream is ended. So maybe this is a good place to plug in. I think it was just Newman on.
Yeah,
that's it. Run, and then some options. I think there was collection, Twitterception, JSON.
So can you put as a parameter which folder you want to run then?
Oh, right. So let's see, command line options. We don't want.
Or maybe we need to just create two collections.
Now there's look, folder.
Nice.
Ta-da. Okay. So then we do folder, and it was live.
Yep.
So it was okay. And there's probably some callback here.
There is.
Summary. Okay. we'll say error.
You're getting also approval for using semicolons, which I don't, and I'm always getting blamed by Joyce because I don't know.
It's a hot topic. It's a hot topic. Summary. Okay. Well, let's see. Is it that easy?
That would be nice.
All right, let's go. Let's run this. Not this one. We'll run this one again. Is this right? Let me see. There we go. Live stream start. Yeah. Send. Got a 204 back. Oh, let me restart the server.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's the summary from Newman that tells you what happened, basically, right?
Oh, wait, I forgot this is live. So
yeah, you should see
it would show up, right? Hey, look at that.
So easy. Or you made
So
it look so easy.
I mean, I'm actually really impressed at how easy it was to use Newman here.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be.
So we could retake this and put it. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, we'll put this here. We'll run the same collection, and then the folder was not live.
Yep.
Which is a much nicer way of saying dead, I guess. So we'll save that. Restart the server. If we go back to Postman, we have this live stream end. And if we look at the body, if we recall, this is the payload that we get from Twitch when the stream is ended. So we'll send that. We got a 204 back. We got our summary coming back from Newman. And it worked.
Just like that. Well, very well
Ship
done.
it.
Can you actually just quickly have a look at the summary from Newman? Just interested to see like what it actually tells us.
Yeah. So we get timings, which is cool. I don't know what those stats are. Globals, environment. Is it print out the whole collection? Okay. I imagine if we had tests, we would probably get like test results back.
Yep.
Let me see. Summary.error, summary.global, summary.run.
Oh,
stats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that you would get that in stats, like the general one, and then failures would be the failed one.
Right. Cool.
Well, well done, Kevin. That was surprisingly fast. We were actually worried from before the stream whether we would be able to complete it in like a timing manner. And we started with like 20 minutes late and we still made it on time. So that's congrats to you.
Yeah. Awesome. I probably went through that really fast, but hopefully there was some stuff we could pick up.
Let me just switch back to the discussion slide. Okay, so what we've done, just to quickly summarize, and again, you cut me if I'm wrong because I'm probably going to be going too fast on the webhook side of things. We have Twitch, right? That sends events through webhook to nrock or ngrok or ngrok, whichever. Yep. ngrok then sends that, actually replies with the challenge to Twitch, saying, yeah, you can subscribe and you can send me, or you can publish to me.
There's a whole proxy chain flow happening behind that. Right? So we go ngrok, local proxy, Postman proxy, local webhook server, and then back. Yeah.
And then, all the way to Newman on the Postman side, which just triggers our collection, which had the two requests we created at the beginning. One that when we go live, puts a banner. When we ungo live, it removes the banner. So we'll be sharing the collection without the API key and the API username with the video. I've seen you have some of your stuff on GitHub, so we can link to that as well. But ideally, or in real life you wouldn't run that on your own machine. You would put that and run that somewhere, host it somewhere. Um, we probably mentioned that in the description of the video anyway. Yeah, I think that's about it. Very nice. Let's see. Oh well, Danny, you've missed it all. He just left as you were finishing and plugging the Newman in. So Danny, I'm sorry to say that you've missed the woohoo part, which is we made it work. So, but I guess you know how to use Twitch, so you can watch the VOD and see that afterwards. Cool. Thank you all for sticking along. Thank you, Kevin, a lot for joining in and showing us all the webhook magic. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye bye.